All right, Nick, thanks for joining us and sharing your yoga story with us. Let's start off with a question I ask everyone, but very interesting. What or who brought you to Bikram?
Actually, a coworker of mine, I worked at a restaurant for like 1 second, and my coworker brought me to yoga because I wanted to lose a couple pounds. Um, but it turned out what I really got from the yoga was not losing any pounds, but I found sobriety in yoga. And it was something that I knew that I needed, but I wasn't at a space to really go there. And then I got into the yoga room and I was forced to really look at myself and do some really hard work. And I realized through the yoga that I had what it took to do even harder work than standing heads and knee pose or whatever. Um, and then I participated in the Sober Yogis program, and that was really life-changing and wonderful. Um, and pretty soon after that, I went to teacher training and decided that I was going to make yoga my whole entire life, and no regrets.
So tell us about those first few classes. Like, what was going through your head, and be honest.
I mean, I remember to my first class, I wore like a push-up bra with a lot of straps, and that was not a great idea, but it didn't matter. Um, I remember just sort of feeling like, what just happened to me? And then I think after class, Andy said to me, "See you tomorrow." And I was like, no way, you're crazy. And then the next day I just kind of like drove to yoga because I didn't know what else to do. Really what it was a place where people wanted me to be there. I didn't really have that in my life at that time. And so a place where I wasn't drinking and people wanted me to be there was like such a safe haven that I really needed. Just a healthy space.
And
I don't know if I answered your question.
no, you did. And when these things kind of started happening, like you got into the program with the community here, you thought about teaching, are there ways that yoga kind of showed up in your life outside of the studio? I mean, it kind of did become your life, but how did it resonate outside when you weren't practicing or teaching or training?
I mean, it happens really quick for me. I mean, really slow, because I would focus on my yoga and then try to just live my life exactly the same outside. But eventually, I mean, it started first with just like, I can't do this hungover.
Yeah.
And so I would like drink a little bit less because I was going to go to yoga the next day. And then that wasn't really working. And mostly it showed up there with like, if I have to choose between drinking and doing this yoga. And I felt like when I started doing this yoga, I met someone that I was really into. I was like thinking about yoga all the time, and I just wanted to talk about yoga.
It's like a crush. I love that.
I totally had a crush on yoga. And yeah,
And you wanted to show up in your best self for that yoga.
I felt like I could really do something cool in the yoga room, and I knew what was holding me back was my alcoholism.
So I think for you to be vulnerable and do the Sober Yogis program and then also go into teacher training, it has to be a really powerful community here of support. Can you talk about that for someone who might be thinking about coming in here and they're just not quite ready to be in the hot room?
Yeah, I mean, I was really nervous about being around people, especially because I was in such a delicate state of hungover or newly sober. And just like my mental health was all over the place. So I didn't necessarily come in and talk to people, but no one was ever rude to me. Everyone was always like holding the door open, or, oh, I saved a spot for you. And just like kindness without really me deserving it or feeling like I deserved it at that time really made me feel super welcome. And then it took me like a couple years before I was really comfortable chatting with the person next to me. But even without that like direct connection, I felt connected just with all of the energy and all of the kindness around me. I really needed that.
Nice. Anything else you would tell someone who, is thinking about maybe the 30-day challenge or doing Sober Yogis? Any other advice?
We have the commit to 90.
Commit to 90.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, a challenge is a really great way to prove to yourself just how badass you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, I can't do yoga 5 times a week until I made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I faltered, I didn't necessarily make it, I just knew, okay, well, now I can do it. And so at some point I have to do it, which is kind of how everything happens in the yoga room. You straighten your leg one time and you're like, well, now I know I can do it. So therefore I have to keep trying. I can't give up on it now. And so, yeah, challenge is a great way to motivate.
Yeah, and it also structures out your week. Like, I'm gonna go to yoga this many days and be surrounded by a great community.
Yeah, the Commit to 90 is like this new thing that we're doing that's really it's not super structured, but it's structured enough that you're going to show up and you have that accountability and just the support and the love. That's really what it comes down to.
Nice.
Even without it being like hugging, it's a different kind of love, which I think is really approachable for everybody, whether you like hugging or not. I don't like hugging.
But yoga can be a big hug without even touching anyone.
Exactly.
Something fun. What's your favorite pose in the series?
Oh, that's really tough. When I first started, I really liked camel pose because it was so intense and I was living a really intense life. Now I'm not so into it. I think I'm probably more into, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm feeling triangle pose right now. I'm really into feeling strong, and that's a really strength-based one.
Nice, and it can change day to day.
It
but
does.
Just what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, I really depend. I need a different one every day.
Nice. All right. Well, anything else you want to add to your story to share with the community here, and then anyone else outside thinking about trying this yoga?
Well, I can't recommend it enough for anybody who's struggling with addiction. You don't have to be sober to come here. You don't even have, if you're just like, maybe I'll, whatever. No rules. Just come in here and try it and see what it does for you. And maybe you drink less, or maybe you get sober, or maybe nothing changes, but now you have new friends. Like, get in here. And through my whole journey, this yoga has definitely played a huge role in me being able to live my what's it called? My authentic self, and coming out as a queer person and a trans person has been part of my journey. But I don't know if I would have ever gotten to that sort of honesty with myself without sobriety and staring at myself in the mirror 90 minutes at a time.
It's pretty powerful.
Forces you to get to know yourself real well.
Nice. And if you come to yoga, you might have Nick as a teacher in the studio. So that's another reason to show up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And yeah, thank you.
Great.